Oh boy, this is gonna be a good one. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to Goosebumps HorrorTown playthrough, and this is part 0, an introduction to the Event 8 event. Now this was a little bit overdue. It's now near the end of September going into October, and we've already gotten some things that need to get catching up, so it's coming. I apologize on that, but I figure I might as well take the time now to talk about the 8th event we've received, and it was a pretty big surprise because we just kind of came off of an event back in July, and now we're in another one in August. Okay, well, anyways, that's something interesting, but let's talk about what this event is. It's simply called Please Don't Feed the Vampire. Yeah. And it really looks interesting, and I really do like the way they kind of design everything here. The only drawback I would say with the art is the fact that on the top they used white, and because the ID code is using the bars as well, it kind of blends it into the background. So maybe next time, if you do something like that, maybe not have white in the back there, or gray it out or something, like, you know, not have it blend in so people can't know what the ID is for their the problems. But before we go ahead and ramble on, I might as well talk about what is Please Don't Feed the Vampire. If you're not sure what the part 0 is all about, you're about to find out. This is where I talk about the characters that's coming out, the book it's based off of, and what exactly, and this is new, what exactly is to be in this update while I read to you the in-app content self. Indeed. So let's go ahead and talk about the book. So if you've seen my last video, I talked about in the Creepy Creations of Professor Shock that this was a choose your own adventure book that was leading into this one. That is true, and there are some interesting things about this. But before we do that, I want to read to you the blurb that this book has. His bark is not worse than his bite. There's a correction there. It's implying that Fifi is a he. It is not. It is a she. In fact, they went ahead and corrected that when they reprinted the thing. So, just to let you know. You buy something called Vampire in a Can. At first you think it's just a goofy vampire costume in the cape, plastic fangs, and a tattoo of a teeth mark. But then you find a packet in the bottom of the can labeled, "Danger! Keep away!" If you try to open the packet with your teeth, it rips in your mouth. Uh-oh, looks like you've been transformed into a vampire, and you're really thirsty. If you decide not to open the packet, your dog sticks her, her, teeth into it. Now your cute little poodle has become a ferocious vampire dog. Can you save your pooch before she bites off more than she can choose? The choice is yours in this scary Goosebumps adventure that packed with over 20 super spooky endings. Man, you gotta love the 90s back in the day. This was released back in March 1997, and there is a fun fact. The cover arts you've been seeing here for the Choose Your Own event, or the Give Yourself Goosebumps, it was actually made by another guy, Mark Nagata, who is a artist himself. And what's interesting about this is that he kind of had the similar kind of style as Tim, but a lot different to say. But there is some interesting facts about this, and I'm going to show you a picture of the artwork itself. Like, these are sketches of what the book was going to look like, the title of it, and these free sketches. This is normal, commonplace when it comes to drafting something, and in the end result it chose the first one, which you see here. Now, some interesting facts with this book was, if you actually had the Creepy Creations of Professor Shock, you would know in the back they usually give you this splurge of what's to come next book. And the last one that was supposed to come was Secret Agent Grandma. That is a name that I have not expected before. In fact, that is a very interesting, because we've seen pictures of her before, but we never really have any events, so maybe that may come in the future. Who knows at this point. But this book ended up coming first compared to Secret Agent Grandma, due to the fact that this was some issues with it. I don't know the full story on it, but at some point, the Secret Agent Grandma was indeed planned to be released before Please Don't Feed the Vampires, but this was not happening, and this ended up being, again, proven because of the fact that Creepy Creation of Professor Shock actually had dressed the Secret Agent Grandma as being the next book, but for unknown reasons, Secret Agent Grandma was released after this book. And even Mark once mentioned that the cover of this book had to be rushed, which may support the claim that this book was indeed released earlier than originally intended. And yeah, as you can tell, things have been a little bit interesting. In this cover, Fifi is described as being a black poodle, but in the book, she's actually more of a white poodle with a mole on her right cheek. The actual cover of the classic Goosebumps reprint actually went ahead and put the right look on her. And speaking of the classic Goosebumps book, they actually did reprint it in 2015. And we're going to talk more about the characters later on, so don't worry about that. But yeah, she did appear again, and this is the first book. This is the only book as of now that is a Choose Your Own Adventure that was released under the classic Goosebumps lineup. And it was only re-released because of the movie that just came out that year, which was Goosebumps the movie, which was back in 2015. Man, how time flies. It was just like last year when we had the Haunted Halloween. Maybe they're making a third movie. I mean, there's rumors about it, but nothing has been confirmed yet, so I don't know, Sony. What are you going to be doing? I don't know. But anyways, let's go ahead and talk about the two new characters that's going to be featured in here. Now, in the book, there are two characters, one of which is going to be let's talk about the main one, Fifi. She is a poodle, and in the book, she is considered as being your faithful companion. However, unknowns to you, she is a vampire, so she will have the instincts of actually biting you, and there are some, in the book, there's a shop you go into, buy the thing, and it just gets confusing because there's a bunch of stuff there. One interesting thing, though, I want to point out is that she did get featured in 2 games. One of them is a mobile game, another one called Goosebumps Nights of Scares. She actually appeared in Chapter 4, and her whole mechanic there was that if she sees you, she barks, and that makes the werewolf, aka Will Blake, come after you. So that's her mechanic there. And then you can actually see, I did play through Goosebumps the game. Then the one point in the beginning, you actually do get to see Fifi here, making her appearance, being walked by a character called Mrs. Forster, who I mistakenly called Foster, but it's not. It's Mrs. Forster. That R is hidden very well. And she actually comes from a short story called Home Sweet Home, like I did talk about in that playthrough that I'm going to show you right here. Yeah, you could watch that review, but I really highly not do that because it has a bit of some strong language, let's put it that way, and some adult pity humor that just made me wonder if I could get away with saying bad, naughty words, and you could, actually. As far as I know, you did. And it was funny. But yeah, Fifi as a character, she's typical. I kind of figured she was going to be in this book anyways, or this story, due to the fact that even Slappy at some point mentioned her, I think twice at some point. You'll probably see it during my playthroughs that she does get mentioned, and I will make sure to point that out when we do get to that point. But that is this. But the second character you probably don't know, and this is only if you did read the book and you actually turn yourself into a vampire, is a character called Countess Yvonne. Now, Countess Yvonne, as well as Fifi, appeared in the Goosebumps movie, but she only appeared in the movie and that's it, and she was only credited as Monster 10, and you can see she's just a female vampire in this version here. So, it's quite interesting indeed. The other thing about this update, I should say, is that I'm guessing the vampire there is her. She was actually featured way back in the day, I believe, in this prominent here, this advertisement on Facebook. I believe this was based on for Give Your Blood Day, or some sort of blood drive. And at first it was interesting because I thought this was going to be like a Spawn character for the Nightwing character, but they decided to add more to the story, and I will go into that when we get there and before. There's not much to talk about this character because she's such a minor person. What's interesting though is in the film, Count Nightwing actually turned out to be her husband, which would make sense in the game. See, this is what I'm talking about. They actually paid attention to the story here. So I will give the team that. They did really well when it comes to knowing their source material. But anyways, let's talk some trivia on her. Not by much, but it is something interesting to kind of keep you on your toes. So even though Giovanni and Fifi are from the same book, Giovanni isn't seen until the bonfire scene. However, after the scene, she seemed to be roaming around since, and it's kind of implying that she left Fifi at the doorstep in that scene and there. Another fun fact about the book itself is one of the endings in the book. There is a scene where the vampires actually drain Giovanni's blood. That's kind of similar based to the vampire queen Akasha, who actually appeared in a book called The Queen of the Damned. So it's interesting that he's bringing up a book that probably a lot of people don't even realize and may have not even known that this was supposed to be a thing. But there you go, some interesting facts for you in the future. Now, I did mention that this character seems to be known now due and thanks to the movie that came out, so she was one of the featured monsters there. The other thing that's interesting about Fifi that I forgot to mention is that in the concept art for the Goosebumps film, they had her have a mismatched eye, and one being blue and the other being red. She's also had blood around her eye and wore a pink bow instead of a flower that they've ended to change in the film fully. So that's quite interesting. You gotta love the fact that they must have found an actual toy poodle and dressed her up and then kind of re-CGI'd her kind of deal in one of the scenes. So I do like how the special effects nowadays are just so good. But yeah, I think that's about it when it comes to this book. There's no real movie thing to kind of base this off of or to show off, so there's not much real information for me to kind of share with you all, unfortunately. But what I can do is I will talk about this update and when it came out. This came out sometime in August, in the beginning of August, and this is such an weird... I'll talk more about that when this event starts up, but let's talk about this event plot. Cinema comes to HorrorTown. A vampire film will be shot at the promenade, and Countess Giovanni will be on it. Neighbors also want to take part in the film. Neighbors also want part on the film cast. A strange package affects Brooke's poodle. Are you ready for this frightening adventure? A new event arrives at HorrorTown. Now, that's quite an interesting short plot point there. And, yeah, it's, they've kind of changed it a little bit because in the story they're making this mean more like a film set. Trying to think why the logic in that is, but I think it might be the fact that she only appeared in the movies, or I don't know, like, I give them credit. I do give them credit. They like to take some different approaches to stuff. So I will give you this thing. And one interesting thing here in this thing I've received with the update is that there was a message with the Goosebumps team that said something along the line of, "We wanted to do a vampire update since the beginning of the HorrorTown development. The whole update is created with much care for detail and full of pop culture and Goosebumps books references. Hope you really enjoy playing it as much as we enjoyed its development. Best of luck, the Goosebumps team." It's a very nice, touching thing, and that makes this whole thing awkward. But regardless of that, let's go ahead and take a look at what the update will have for us. So, one thing is new permanent content available. Okay. 2 new walking monsters joined the cast of HorrorTown, Countess Giovanni and Fifi, which we talked a bit about them already. New high-level content. Now that's interesting. Full filming set. I'm assuming they're talking about the items, or they might even talk about the actual promenade being a film set. I'm not sure. I'm guessing that's what they mean by that. 12 new items to craft and sell. It's pretty obvious at that point. 2 new suppliers, so this seems a bit... So not a whole lot there. 13 new Goosebumps original narratives. Okay, so this seems like it's going to be a very short update. 12 new animations, so that's not bad. I'm believing 6 of those, well, some of those are going to be for the new characters, so we might be expecting to see some reused assets, but, you know, as long as it makes sense, I don't mind. 9 new decorations, so a lot of decorations. I'm assuming they're going to be the film things itself. And we've also included multiple fixes to improve the gaming experience. So that's it for this patch note thing, and the update itself is intriguing. So I'm hopefully that this part 0 helps you out with understanding with what this whole thing's about. But yeah, this is going to be a very awkward video. Let's just say that this video would not surprise me if this whole event playthrough on the videos are going to be more, or if not as popular as the Haunted Mask, because I have a feeling that a lot of people did not 100% complete this due to a lot of the problems that I'm going to try to address here. And yes, this is going to be a bit of an endurance round for everybody, but let me try to please and have fun with this and basically make some orange, like we were basically given. Let's just say that we were given lemons and I'm going to turn them into lemonade. Because at the end of the day, I suffer through this. But with that meme out of the way, I think that's about it for this video. So let's get ahead and put our best foot forward as we continue to bear part 1 to this new event. I've been Grim, and I'll be seeing you very soon. Until then, my vampiric brethren.